Alrighty, folks, welcome to What It Takes, a mini-series where I ask the same questions to elite coaches, and they talk about what it takes to become an elite coach. I'm your host, Kevin Shaw, and today we are talking with five-star diamond and 2017 elite coach, Tracy Balderach. Tracy, welcome to What It Takes.
Thank you.
Tracy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I live in Darien, Connecticut. We're about 30 minutes outside of New York City. My husband and I have been married 12 years. We've got 4 children, and they range from 3 to 9, brand new 9-year-old. And I just became an Insanity Live instructor in January.
Congratulations on all those things. Fun stuff. Here we go. Tracy, question number 1. How were you introduced to Beachbody?
So 2 of my girlfriends from high school were drinking Shakeology. One was seriously coaching. One was a discount coach. And I had just had May, our 4th baby. So she's 3. So this was about 2.5 years ago. So I had 4 kids. My oldest was 5. Maybe she had just turned 6, but it was 4 kids under 5. And it was mass chaos. I was completely exhausted, and I did okay in my pregnancy. I only really gained a little bit of weight in a healthy way, but I got this meal train that came from like neighbors and church friends and school friends, and they would bring these dinners, and this was in the fall. And so I literally, because I was nursing, ate anything I wanted, and I put on 25 pounds with my meal train. So one day I was like stuffing cake pops in my mouth, and I saw the reflection in the mirror, and I was like, okay, I think I need to call these girls back and talk to them about Shakeology. So I said no probably 5 or 6 times.
5 or 6 times before you finally decided to call them back.
Yeah. And then I called them back and I started drinking Shakeology, but I was like, I'm not doing a challenge group. I'm going to do it on my own. So I did T25 on my own. And in 10 weeks, I lost the 25 pounds.
Unbelievable. I love how negative and persistent, and you're like, no way this isn't happening. But yeah, got you still. I love it. Okay, so Tracy, now you're a coach. Can you describe what those early days look like?
Yes. So, like I said, I did T25 on my own. I wouldn't be in a challenge group, and I was not big on Facebook. So, but there was something about the coaching opportunity that still sort of intrigued me a little bit. And I actually was more intrigued from a negative way. I thought it was like crazy that I would see these videos in my news stream from these like people at Super Saturday, like jumping around and high-fiving. And I was like, this is like a cult. Like, what are these people doing? But I would literally like be nursing the baby, right, every 3 hours. And I started like scrolling YouTube. And so I found some of the top coaches like Janelle Summers. I've never even met her in true life. I'm actually in her downline. I watched so many of her YouTube videos, and I was like, she's a businesswoman. She's like, there is no way that this is a crazy pyramid schemey business if this girl's in it. And then I would scroll and I'd find like the next coach. And all of these coaches I felt like had this business acumen and this professionalism, but yet they were like joyful and in shape and loved what they did, as did one of my girlfriends from high school who was doing the business. So I sort of became intrigued and sort of taught myself through YouTube nursing a newborn.
Wow.
Yeah.
It really goes to show how important it is to make sure you're putting all of that stuff out there, and
Oh
so
my goodness,
you can see it.
It was my first time ever on YouTube. I wasn't a Facebook girl. My brother would use YouTube, and I was like, that is a waste of your life to sit there and watch video.
Most of them, you're right. He's true about most videos, but there are some.
Unless it's a Beachbody coach giving some good input, right?
Okay, question number 3. What do you feel are some attributes or habits you have that contribute to your success?
Well, I can hustle. That's one thing. I feel like when I talk about coaches, every coach, no matter what phase of life is in, has other things going on. We're all busy, whether we're talking about 4 kids, whether we're talking about a full-time job, whether we're talking about full-time school. Everybody has something. And it's a matter of like, if you can connect why this is important and why you want to do it, you have to be willing to hustle. And you have to be willing to not make excuses. And you have to be willing to prioritize your time and make it happen, and give up some things that probably could go away so that you have more time. So I feel like hustle is a major contribution, work ethic, and just the ability to not quit.
Perfect. Perfect answers. Hey, here we go. So what advice do you have for a brand new coach who doesn't know where to start? What can they start doing today to start achieving long-term success?
Okay, so I love to tell brand new coaches to listen to national wake-up calls, right? I think that is so key because there's not been one national wake-up call I haven't taken a good nugget and been like, that's brilliant. I just think it's like being in a room with coaches who have either been successful or now we're even having coaches that have been in the business not that long of a time on national wake-up calls. And I think a mixture of those two things is amazing. So I always say to brand new coaches, like, listen to national wake-up calls. Take those nuggets because something is going to make you go like, aha, right? That's one of the things. Two is we always start with the compound effect. Have to read the compound effect before getting started right training because, again, those concepts, I think, can be applied to marriages, parenting, work, anything that you do, exercise, fitness. So those two things are always key. And then three is like set the expectation that this is going to take a long time, right? It's not going to all of a sudden you're like a 5-star. There are those leapfrogs out there, but I like to set the expectation that this is, you're opening up like a storefront in your downtown and your door is open and you have signs, but nobody's going to come in for a long time. You have to actually go out there and ask them to come inside. And then you've got to give them that customer experience, which takes a long time to have them keep coming back. So setting the mindset that it's not going to be quick.
Ah, I love hearing that because that's what I try telling the coaches I work with as well. Those are the only thing I could add next to the national wake-up call to help is to watch the What It Takes series. Just kidding.
Just a small plug.
Okay, next one. So what about the coach who is struggling or who is thinking about giving up? What advice do you have for them?
Again, like I say to those coaches, like a lot of times I just had a phone call about this yesterday with a new coach. And I asked her, I'm like, so let me ask you this. You've been doing this for 6 weeks. So tell me, like, what was your expectation when you started? How long did you think it was going to take? Or what was the level of success that you thought you were going to have in your first month? Because I have to understand, like, what they're thinking is not successful first. And then we can carry on the conversation because a lot of times it's either like they're comparing themselves to a coach on the team that's in chapter 22 and they're on chapter 1. Yep. You know, or they've got an unrealistic, I did not do a good job as a personal sponsored coach, giving them a realistic expectation of what to expect. And they're thinking and putting this pressure on themselves that's way out there. Most of the time, it's the people that don't have a really warm market, you know, or their warm market is like, it's too expensive and they're getting hit with all these objectives. So I find that it's two things. One, we need to work on finding more friends in Facebook. Okay, so maybe we're doing freemiums, maybe we're like friending friends of mutual friends. So we'll talk about strategies there. Or two, they don't have the right answers or don't have the right practice in handling the most common objectives.
But you have to know first, and that's why it's so important to understand their expectations and assumptions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay, last question here on advice. Throughout your coaching career, what has been the best advice you've received regarding your personal business?
Kids. For me, it's been setting business hours for sure. So I did not do this probably until about a year ago. And I feel like when you set business hours, this is your time to do Beachbody. This is your time to do your personal life, whatever those two things might be. And then you can be so much more intentional. And it took me the longest time because as a brand new coach, I was constantly checking my phone because I didn't want to miss out on anything. And you get excited when you get like the person wants a challenge pack and you're like, hang on. I know we're about to have dinner, but hold on 1 second. I'm going to send this. And that's not fair to my family. But at the same time, it's also not fair for me to always be available to my coaches and my challengers. Yeah. I can't be available 24/7. So I love setting business hours, and then it forces you to plan what you're going to do in that bulk of time that you have, and you're more productive.
Okay, great advice. On to the speed round. Tracy, this is where I simply ask you quick questions, and I need just a short response.
Okay.
On average, how much time do you spend working your business?
A day or a week?
In a day.
I would say anywhere from 3 to 6 hours.
Okay. What's your average SC each month?
I'm probably like an SC16 girl.
Okay. What percentage of time do you focus on your own business versus your team?
It's 50-50.
Okay. And what leadership ladder rung are you at right now?
I'm at team leader.
Very good. Good. That is the correct response. All right, guys, on to questions from a hat, where Tracy has no idea what question I'm going to ask. It is the most important question of the day. Tracy, how many selfies do you take a day?
Probably not enough. I would say today I actually took about 15 because we took one of them after Insanity Live because we did it outside. It was the first spring day. But I would say on average, I probably take 3 a day.
I love that. What a great question and a great answer. Guys, this has been phenomenal. Tracy, thank you so much for your honesty, for your leadership. Guys, this is great stuff. Please go back, watch it again. If you didn't take notes, and do what she said. Guys, this is What It Takes with Tracy Balderach. Thanks, Tracy.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.